It's the Pennsylvania Hitman coming to you from the PaHitman studios in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I'm here to talk to you about one of the most honest, trustworthy MMA promoters and managers in existence. Alright guys, we all know that most managers and promoters in the fight game are crooked, dirty, rotten, sleazy bastards. So I'm going to tell you about one of probably the most honorable, trustworthy men in the game. The guy's name is Monte Cox. Okay, for you guys that don't know him, back in the day, he was the OG, he's a godfather of MMA manager, being an MMA manager. He managed Pat Miletich, pretty much everyone in Pat Miletich's training camp. He managed Matt Hughes, Robbie Lawler, Tim Sylvia, Rich Franklin, George Gurgel, Jeff Curran. Got a slew of UFC champs. Man, he was the OG of managing. I didn't when I first met him, I really didn't know like the caliber of guy I was talking to at the time. I think the first time I met him, I was looking on the internet and I found like they were looking for some last minute replacements, trying to find somebody to fight in a tournament in Cincinnati, Ohio. I contacted one of my training partners, Mike Rooney. I'm like, hey dude, you want to go fight this weekend in Cincinnati, Ohio? He's like, yeah, what's going on? I told him what little bit I knew. Back then I would just jump in a car and drive anywhere. I didn't care if if there's a fight tomorrow, there's a fight tonight. If I can get there, I'm going to try to make it. So he's like, yeah, I'm down. And it's a tournament style. And no athletic commissions. This was back in probably, I don't know, 2001 or 2002. I can't remember for sure, but it was back in the day. And we drive all the way to Cincinnati. We get there, and whoever was supposed to weigh us in, they forgot the scale. Who forgets the scale for weigh-ins, right? So there's a flea market. I don't know where we were at. It was like in the back of some like strip club or something, I think. And then like off to the side in front of the place, it was a big, huge flea market going on. It was huge. This big flea market. So they sent a bunch of people to the flea market to see if they could find a scale. So I think they bought like some bathroom scale for $5 from someone at the flea market, and we all weighed in on this scale. I think Mike won a fight and lost a fight. I know he fought Matt Danzig that night, and it was actually a really close fight. He did good, and I think Matt caught him in a heel hook or something like that. But Mike actually almost beat Matt Danzig. And I know I won my first fight by decision. And then I fought someone from Carlson Gracie Jr.'s team. I beat his ass, dude. His name was Chris Griffin. I beat his ass. And freaking I lost a decision, man. And I think I got hosed because Carlson Gracie Jr., he bought a ton of dudes and the judges were just people that, I think they picked. Obviously, they probably picked. I'm positive the judges were probably training with Carlson Gracie Jr. I'd probably bet my life on it. But I got hosed. And I know I got hosed because afterwards I bitched about it. And then, I found out this Chris Griffin guy, he wanted to rematch me. Like, why you want to rematch me? Why you want a rematch? If you won, I should be the one bitching and wanting a rematch. I didn't say nothing about it. I was just moving on to the next fight, but he wanted a rematch, so I think he knew he lost too. So, but that's another story. So this was Monte Cox's show. And I met him there, and I did really well. I did super good. I thought I fought good, but I didn't know who I was fighting in front of. I didn't know. To me, Monte Cox was just some dude that was putting on some fights. You know, we fought in a ring, and then afterwards I go back and I'm like realizing like, holy shit, you know, this dude's like, you know, he's the godfather of managing. He manages all these big name guys, you know, and so I eventually got to know him, and then I never fought good in front of him again. My God, like people talk about getting nervous when they fight somebody. I got nervous because I was fighting on one of his shows, and I so bad wanted to impress him. And I would fucking fail every time, and it fucking pissed me off. I always fought good dudes because he didn't manage like turds. So if I was fighting someone that he was managing, like I knew I was fighting a good guy, but I was better than, you know, a few of the people that I fought, you know, that were being managed by him, and I just fought like shit that day. And I think it was honestly because I was nervous. I was trying to impress him, and I fucked up every time. Well, I'm still mad about it. But anyways, I want to tell you about why he's the most honest and trustworthy manager out there. I got hurt one time in training, and he was looking for somebody to fill in. Somebody fell out of a fight, and I was like, my number was like on every matchmaker promoter speed dial because I would fill in in a second. Like one night I was boxing in somewhere in Ohio, like Columbus, Ohio. I was the main event. Got a phone call from a promoter to fill in for someone that was missing, that bailed in Indiana. And I'm like, well, I'll have to call you back because I'm getting my hands wrapped right now. I'm getting ready to box in the main event. And he's like, oh man, then you can't take the fight. I was like, bullshit, I'm going to take the fight. We're just going to have to work out how much you're paying me. So, you know, I'll call you back as soon as I get my hand wraps. And so I fought box that night and drove down to Indiana somewhere and fought the next day. So every matchmaker and promoter, like my number was on speed dial. They knew I would fill in. So Monte Cox got a hold of me and he wanted me to fill in and fight. And I was like, oh man, dude, I hurt my shoulder. I love to, and man, I needed the couple $100 he was probably paying me. So he's like, all right, you know, well, let me know, you know, I can really use you. And I was like, all right, you know what, I'll do it. My shoulder's fucked up, but I'll do it. I'll live. And it was to fight a guy named John Stutzman, who was eventually one of my instructors that I got my black belt from. He wasn't my instructor at the time, but that's who I was fighting. And he was a purple belt under George Gurgel. He was a really good wrestler, really good at Jiu-Jitsu. I was a white belt at the time, and I drove down. I want to say the fight was somewhere around Columbus, Cincinnati, Ohio area, because that's, you know, kind of like where a lot of those shows were back then. So I drove all the way down there. My shoulder was fucked up, man. It was super fucked up. And, you know, I was fighting in front of Monte Cox, so I fought like shit. You know, I think I lost in the first or second round. He got my back and choked me. And I was so pissed off at how I performed that I just got in my car and I left. I didn't even want my money. Like, I felt like I didn't deserve the money that he was going to pay me because I suck so bad. So I drive home, you know what I mean? I'm just mad as fuck, just pissed. And then, you know, I don't know if it was the next day, but it definitely was no more than 2 days later. Monty called me back and he's like, Dan, what's going on? I'm like, oh, what's up, man? I said, sorry, I sucked. He's like, yeah, he's like, I didn't see you at the end of the night because to come get your money. I was like, dude, I don't even want my money. I was like, I don't deserve to be paid for my performance. I'm like, I sucked. And I just don't feel like I deserved it. I was like, that's why I left. I don't even want it. I'm like, I'm so mad at my performance. I don't even want it. He's like, well, he's like, that's fine, but we made a deal and, you know, I owe you that money. So give me your address. He's like, if you get the check and you want to throw it away after that, then that's your business. But I'm giving you this money because that's what I said I'd do. I owe you this money and I'm going to give it to you. I was like, dude, I don't even want it. He's like, look, Dan, I'm busy. I got to go. What's your address so I can send you the money? So I gave him my address And I'll be damned if like a week later I didn't get a check in the mail for, you know, the 100 or 200 bucks he said he owed me. And let me tell you, I don't think there's a promoter on the planet Earth, if the fighter left without collecting his money, they would call the guy and ask him for his address to send him the money. That just would not happen. Nobody is gonna pay you money that you said you don't want. That's not happening. But that dude did. Monte Cox sent me that 100 or 200 bucks, whatever it was. It wouldn't have been more than 300. So it was somewhere between $100 and $300 is what he sent me. And that's exactly what he did. I'm just telling you, man, nobody would do that. Be like, oh, okay, cool. You didn't show up for the money. Good. That's just some money I don't have to pay somebody. And then, you know, I got to know him and stuff, and he told me that everybody he manages, he doesn't even have them sign contracts. Usually you sign a contract for a manager so it's all legal and everything like that. He said I do everything by word of mouth and a handshake. He's like, you know, we're men, and if I can't trust you on your word, then, you know, you're someone that I really just don't want to deal with, and if you ever screw me over, I'll just never deal with you again. And let me tell you, that guy's got connections. Like if he tells you he can get you in the UFC, he will get you in the UFC. So I'm assuming that if anybody hoes him, I'm sure he blackballed him or did some type of shit to fuck with him, man. He was like, you know, he was like the mafia dude for the MMA manager. Like, you don't fuck with him, and you know, he keeps his word. So that's my story about Monte Cox. That's why he's the most honest and trustworthy manager promoter out there. I'm not too sure if he's managing or promoting anybody anymore. I think he probably retired from that because the game got dirty and people aren't trustworthy anymore, and people are pieces of shit. But back then, Monte was definitely the guy that you could take his word for his word. His word was worth more weight in gold. So that's my story on Monte Cox. Hope you guys enjoyed it.